Hey guys, gonna make a ton of action today. I took a long, market open long, AIEV. By far the best name with the most potential, right? Because outside of FFIE for the insane meme stock backside squeeze, but in terms of just market open longs, we're getting a lot more range and volume in the pre-market on low floats, so that's great to see. It benefits alongside, but it also means that there's a ton of stuff gapped up that you don't want along, right? Like at market open, place like WENA or this OPTX, and these are just too extended. They're just too extended, not good for the market open longs. You want something up a lot lower, right? I like that this is the first pullback in its consolidation, right? This is a first real pullback, so um, I always think that a stock that hasn't done multiple short trap liquidity squeezes has the most potential. AIEV also has a fresh chart, right? It's like pretty much no daily resistance levels to really look at, which I do consider bullish. But most importantly, the walk down in the open. So this was my primary watch at open was for the long was the walk down into the open, and then this one was a little hard because you essentially had to chase, right? They kind of they did do a 931 knife, but I didn't long immediately off that 931 knife, and I had to follow. I had to chase follow. I'll show you. I had to chase follow a bid that appeared on the book. So we go to market open. And at 931, you could have. I wanted this to kind of hang out here for a little bit. I didn't want to immediately dip by into this bid. Um, Especially because I thought, oh, there's like 3, 4 layers of ass. There's one bid. Maybe it's not that good. But once it came back up and this 280 bidder started getting respected, that's where I went long. But the problem with that is you can't. It's essentially a chase, so you can't really size in with multiple entries, right? Because it's so fast. So the percent move is huge, but it's hard to get a lot of size on a play like this. But I mean, it's great. I mean, if we look at the chart over here, um, sorry, I'm trying. I have two thicker swims open. There we go. There we go. Sorry, taking a little bit of time. AIEV is how you spell that. Um, this is really the ideal situation where you have it was nice volume straight off the bat, so 500,000, 500,000, 500,000, and then when it started actually rotating, we got 1 million, 1.1. So we got increasing volume, we got bid follow up on the book. We have an extremely nice market open structure, and this is the whole chart. Like this is there's no more price history compared to this. And it was a nice move. They were doing some fake uphold stuff. Um, so, if you think like a market maker, um, when a stock upholds and has a bajillion bids on it being stacked, a lot of times, if you'll see, especially on aggressive moves like this, you'll see market makers sell into those bids, right? Not every uphold is going to lock in, and if you're long, you might as well join that liquidity, try to get good fills at big bids. So you're not dealing with slippage or, I mean, I sold some up here because I thought it would like pull, the volume was increasing. I thought it might pull back in base and then just started knifing really hard and I just got out. I'm like, that's all there really is for that trade. And then I took a short trade on a much more interesting, this was just a standard market open long with some bid follow up. But the other trade was, what was it? GRDI? This was a short I took that kind of goes over a lot about how market makers trap shorts, right? So, we got a big aggressive move, up only move past these lower highs in the pre-market. Couple things about GRDI. It's on a crazy rigged multi-day run, which I consider bullish. You want to be careful, right? If this was a day one stock, I think this would have had a lot more potential to the downside. Um, but you know, it gave a real. Hey, the volume was about 500K. It wasn't too crazy, and I like it when stocks, even though 500K is enough to rig a stock back up. I did like that it wasn't too large of a volume on this initial push because you got a hyper aggressive parabolic move, swiping lower highs, and it was only 500K. So it's like the thesis was this is all the liquidity this morning push will have, and will give a decent fade. But then something extremely interesting happened on the book, and this is a good example of, I talked about large bids and large asks on the book being potentially bullish or potentially bearish, depending on when in the chart it's happening, what time of the day it's happening, what's the context of the play. And what I like about this, even though I ended up not hitting the short up here, just because it doesn't really fit any of my setups, I was kind of hoping this 1 minute 50 tap and rotation, maybe fake 5-minute flag back up to 310s up here, right? And pull back. Never got that move. But on this move, I mean, let's zoom out. Crazy rigged MDR, right? And then the long thesis on a manipulated move like this is lower high paint below this pre-market high. And then they're going to squeeze, the painted lower highs. And we learn, if you've been watching my videos this week and end of last week, the number one thing I said to my Discord was, I was like, when a market gets stronger, pay attention to the aggressive sell-offs, right? Because when low floats get stronger, what you get is you get a lot more short traps in the morning. You get more short traps at pre-market and at market open, right? So you want to be careful. And I used to take losses on these all the time. You want to be careful on these when you get like a high volume push and a massive down only sell off, right? And we saw this on a lot of plays. FFIE right here. So I call this on my Discord too. I was like, FFIE has a lot of potential to push, and this was on during the pullback. I was like, a lot of times he's up only, look at the volume. The volume will tell you a lot, right? Going from 5 million to 10 million on these pushes. A lot of shorts will chase the first 10, 15% pull. They see this red candle and they can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves. I was like, and if you want like a comparison on a large cap doing this, look at this move, right? SMCI, crazy extended. Red day down to the 20 EMA on the daily in a rotation, right? A lot of shorts will chase this, especially swing shorts, right? And I was short this candle. I mean, one of the few large cap plays I traded this year, and I covered a lot on the 20 EMA because these quick pullbacks on these high volume crazy stocks can be incredible short traps, right? Even GME on on this day. It's a similar idea, right? Very similar idea. But we're talking about FIE. A big thing to know about FIE is that it's extremely, extremely pulled back, right? We pretty much had, outside of this little prop on this day, it was pretty much 3.9 down to 18 cents, down only. So this has a lot of potential to squeeze higher, right? In terms of this parabolic blow-off move, right? So anyways, get back to GRDI. I saw this, and what happened here was very interesting. I was short because there was a complete lack of, I'll show you in the book, there's a complete lack of bid follow-up, right? So I go to GRDI. So here's a short, right? I love these second pushes. So I got big push through the pre-market levels. Nice little second push. I saw these mini bids get pulled. I saw the ask. I saw an empty book. I'm like, and I saw the 500K volume. I'm like, this is a nice short. And then right here, this is the most important part, right? Because I talked about this. You see this a lot in the pre-market in stronger markets, but it can happen at market open too, where they flashed 100,000 share ask. It was 100,000 shares. And I saw this 100,000 shares on the book, and I was short up here, and I saw the lack of bids, and I was like, oh, that's actually not a good thing. It's not a good thing that that ask is showing up at that point, because it's right where the lower high pain is, right? So the concern is that they're trying to force the stock down, and maybe something happens later, right? So I was actually worried it might dip 250. Maybe they pull the ask, it rotates back up. I was worried about things like that. So when I got the big crack, sorry, just typing up something to a friend. When I got the big crack, I was like, oh, I got to be really aggressive with the covers, because we're in a market where these things are rotating back up, right? And not to mention, you could see on the book here, once that offer gets shoved down, there's a few as found it's down, but it's mostly just empty space, and they pulled it, right? So it's very, very dangerous, right, for a rotation. So it's like, well, let me cover some under VWAP here, and let me put my risk at like 2.5. Let's make it real simple, because if I start to get a rotation after this half is getting pulled, it's probably going to be really strong. Let me just protect my profits. Started rotating, got out over here, and yeah. So you could see how these games, right, the lower high paint on the rig, how these games, they force these moves down to shake people out, get shorts to chase, and then they do. This is why this long is so aggressive, right? It's so aggressive because of how aggressive the selling is, right? And how big of a short trap it is, right? And here's all this under VWAP soak, right? All these people shorting under VWAP, chasing the dump. And yeah, you get these massive empty air pocket rotations, right? And that's why I went in short here. It's like, well, couldn't this be another like aggressive push that just gets pulled? And given the context of the lower high paint, the multi-day run, 100,000 ask getting pulled, I was like, I just considered it bullish. I could have longed, but the book wasn't, super super conducive to it, but still got a nice move out of it. And yeah, I just went straight down. I was hoping for some rotations, especially here, and maybe push up to here, at least fill some of these asks, break some of these lower highs. Just never came. And yeah. And besides that, I mean, a ton of stuff happened today, but I didn't really trade most of it. Let's see. What tickers? It was a short video, so what tickers happened today? I was extremely surprised. You usually almost never see flags of this high in the range actually work. I actually thought they would shake people out and then attack this lower high paint, maybe at market open or something like that. Essentially pull it back and then rotate it with the market open. They just pushed it right away. I was like, wow, I did not expect a flag this high in the range to actually work. It's not very common. But then they did a common little trick, little micro walk down in the open. A lot of these micro walk downs in the open will actually produce pushes. And here's another thing, aggressive sell-off, and then look how high it rotates. The more aggressive it sells off, the higher the rotation potential, right? Now, some of these are going to rotate through high day. Some of them are not. I think it depends on the volume, how gapped up it is on the book, how extended it is, what the book looks like itself, how it reacts at key levels. This, of course, was bid propping crazy hard on this push. Problem is, it's hard to know what levels to go for. It's like, do I wait for 4.8 and take out these lower highs? Do I go for 4.5? Right? It wasn't immediately obvious which level I should wait for here. So it's like, the higher the better, and it just kind of swiped 4.5 and dipped. So nothing really to do there. But again, that aggressive selling. By the way, shout out to people in my room. They were messaging in the room like, hey, do you think this has rotation potential with the aggressive selling? I was like, yeah. It does. I saw how aggressive this was, and look at this ends up being the low. This is how retail doesn't think, right? This ends up being the low at 950 all the way until almost noon, right? So people see aggressive sell-offs, and they try to hit these weak pops. These pops are so nice, little fake VWAP resistance, little fake $4 VWAP resistance. So when I was talking with my room and also with Mikey about this, I was like, yeah, 4.2s and then 4.5. So like those are the main levels, and then who knows what comes after that. But yeah, interesting little play. And then what else really happened today? What happened today? What happened on these names? NXL. This was on like a thin multi-day run that kind of massive breakout for a little bit. Didn't really trade it. And then trade just talked about. Traded just talked. Were there? I thought there were other plays today. Oh, OPTX. This was up on no news. This was a weird play. Again, I would never long this because how overly extended it is in the pre-market. One thing I did find was interesting. And then, man, I hate when you get rigged volume like this, right? Where it's like there's a bunch of volume on the liquidity pushes, but everything else is super low. It's a little annoying. Did think this was interesting, though. Again, in terms of aggressive sell-offs, right? Right. Clear out, aggressive sell-off, right? A lot of these aggressive sell-offs are getting rotated on, right? And yeah, if you look at the book on this, there was like 100,000 share bidder who kept like refreshing six. He would like go away, then refresh, go away, then refresh. It was a very weird Bookmap rig. But yeah, attacking the morning short candle, right? But at the same time, hyper aggressive move towards highs. Very similar to the GRDI trade, but I didn't have the read on this. I thought this was just too choppy and the volume was too thin at places. I'm like, this seems kind of like a headache. I'm just gonna ignore this play, and it ended up actually doing this final liquidity move and fading 60-70%. So maybe I should have been paying attention to it. But yeah, it was up on no news. I don't know what the hell was going on with the sticker, but anyway, that was it for today. Oh yeah, the penny runner, OPTT, right? Penny runner. Again, aggressive pullback, massive rotation potential, right? The more aggressive the pullback, the greater rotation potential is, right? Assuming the volume's there. You know, some stocks do just go straight up, straight down, but on these high volume, crowded plays, and OPTT over here was nice because it was still only up like 40% or something like that. You actually could have longed it in the market open. But yeah, these massive sell-off. Well, like I said, they're not all going to break high day. So you could have either thesis, like, hey, maybe it just squeezes through high day, or maybe it's. But I will say, the higher something is, the higher and the more up only something pushes, the more aggressive. The more aggressive you need to be when selling if you're going to be long in this type of price action, right? Essentially, the higher the likelihood a long trap push is to happen, the higher and the more aggressively it's already extended before. And so it's like, and if you want to see an example of a stock not pushing, sometimes it doesn't push. FFIE on this pullback. I thought this had midday potential, right? Pulls back. You know, super ultra aggressive pullback from the parabolic, and it ended up just doing like a 3-hour higher low bid prop, and then it cracked. I still think this has crazy potential just from like a more multi-day runner meme stock perspective, but we will see about that. We'll see about what FFIE ultimately decides to do. Maybe look at the hourly, look at the 15-minute. See what happens in the after hours, see what happens tomorrow where it's opening. You know, I think if we just zoom way out on this play, man, zoom way out. I mean, there's so much potential for this to rotate. There's so much, right? 3.9 to 18 cents. What is that? What fade is that? 95%? Like, what is it? It's just an insane fade. Makes me realize I probably should have swung short my 3.3 entry, whatever it was. But anyway, interesting play. Keep an eye on this play. Anyways, that's it for today. A lot of action, but still at the same time, best longs are the more bottomed out plays that haven't made moves yet. You know, OPTT was nice because it was only up 40%. AIEV was nice to market open because it was only up like 40-50%. It hadn't made a lot of moves. And then short side, you you know, there's always gonna anything with tons and tons of range will always have short potential. But when these strong markets, especially in the morning on these quick pullbacks, you want to be careful. You want to be careful on the aggressive pullbacks because they have big rotation potential. Anyway, that's it for today. And you know, information down below about the Discord. And you guys have a good one. See you tomorrow.